my God! Oh my God! Now, it's not every day that you get to drive something this special, and when I'm talking about these two here, of course the early 911s, they're G bodies. One's a Targa, the other's a Coupe. And they are here to help us conduct a DNA test of the new 911 GTS, the hybrid. Of course, these are much more compact, smaller, tighter, air-cooled. That's larger, has a water-cooled engine, more power, a turbo, four-wheel drive. But is that 911 essence still there? Let's do a DNA test. Now first, let's put the 911 SC under the microscope. Then we'll drive the pair and see what Porsche 911 DNA feels like from behind the wheel. And then we'll finally climb behind the wheel of the GTS to see just how many of those genes shine through. Stick around, this is going to be a fascinating look at one of the greatest cars ever. Cute, isn't it? And this is the G body. This is the one that's sold in America, that was sold in America. Extra rubber here to absorb the impact. And these sides here, they're called accordions. Now, if you look around the side, you see a famous wheel here. It's the Fuchs wheel, and it just fits this design so beautifully. And here at the back, you can see these American bumpers here too. There's big blocks of rubber. That's for the American market again. And of course, 911 SC with the grille at the back here. That there is the 6-cylinder engine. Now it's a tight fit. And you've got to slide your leg under the steering wheel and then get comfortable. The pedals are very offset. The clutch is sort of right of center, where we would expect the brake to be. The brake is to the right of that. And finally, at a sort of angle, this sort of angle, that's where the accelerator is. It's quite disconcerting initially, and that's because the front wheel's right here. Now, of course, no power-assisted steering, but you can actually turn the wheels, and that's because there is very little weight on the front wheels. Of course, that's the 911 ethos. The engine's in the back, behind the rear wheel, all the weight's there. Up ahead, big tachometer, that's the really important gauge, and that's how it should always be. Even in the digital form, Porsche gives you that option. Speedometer to the right, clock, and then the temperature gauges and pressure gauges. So that's fuel tank, temperature, pressure, oil pressure, and some of the warning lights. Classic white on black crackle, no chrome for the surrounds here either, and a nice hood for the instrument so you can see it even in bright light. Simply brilliant, very, very functional, and just gorgeous, both at the same time. Now, a few interesting quirks. That there is to lock the door. That's the door release. Porsche has always had space here in the door pad. And check this out. That there, right next to the handbrake, is a defogger. Have you ever seen something like that? Now, not only do we have the coupe version of the 911 SC with the G body, we also have this. And that, as it says on that rollover bar, is called the Targa. And the Targa is named after the Targa Florio race. And you get a removable top, a tonneau cover on top, and this glass back. But otherwise, the car is pretty much the same. Of course, it's not as stiff. It was legislation in the US that made Porsche think up a car like the Targa. Specifically, new rollover protection safety laws threatened to ban convertibles. And the solid roll bar and glass back were the solutions. Now let's take a look at that flat 6 engine. And what's great here is you can see so much of the engine. Modern cars don't allow you to do that. It's just a shroud and you can't see anything else. But here, you can see exactly what you want to take a close look at. And that, of course, is the fan. It's a ducted fan. And it's there because this is an air-cooled engine. Over to the left here, I see the head with the 3 spark plugs. and Porsche written on the cam cover. I've never seen that before because most of the cars we've driven are all much more modern ones. And that looks pretty cool. That's the inlet there, distributor, air intake, and up here, that's for the fuel injection. These cars were fuel injected. Where do you fill the oil? Right there. And the oil filter sits right next to it. Pretty amazing. Of course, the Porsche engine was famous for being cooled by oil. The oil cap is on the side and not on the engine because this is a racing-derived dry-sump engine. It also gets power window switches. There's one on the right as well for the passenger. And if you look here, it has cruise control. And this car gets the original Porsche steering. Now let's go to the current 911 or the GTS. First up, a close look, and it's massive in comparison. Now here's where the biggest difference is between these two cars. This one is wider, taller, longer, larger, heavier, around 600 kilos heavier than the G-body cars. Now this car gets a new engine. It's a 3.5 litre flat six, just like the G-body cars, but this one of course is water cooled as it has been for generations. This particular one also gets a hybrid system. There are two motors. One sits inside the turbocharger and gives electric boost at low RPM, and the other sits between the gearbox and the engine. Now interestingly, there's no wastegate on the turbo. The electric system takes care of that, and the PDCC, the Porsche active anti-roll bars, they work much faster because it works on an electric system that's got a lot more power. What's also quicker is that nose lift, and that's essential in our conditions. Now, as on the earlier 911s, lots of space up front. You can keep a fairly large bag here, including some soft bags. And back here are these vents, and that's because this hybrid has its 1.9 kilowatt hour battery stationed under there. What's also under there is actually the fuel tank, because 911s have all their fuel tanks up front, and so does this one. And also, since this is the all-wheel drive or the Carrera 4, up front under there is also the front transaxle that sends power to the front wheels. And here's something that's different from the earlier 911s too, whereas you can look at that beautiful flat six in those cars, gaze at them, you can't see anything of the engine here, just a couple of fans. And before I forget, check that out. That's to shape the airflow over the rear of the car. It's an exit. With this beautiful red leather, white double stitching, and these chrome and metallic highlights, this is so much more of a luxury car, but you still get that tachometer bang in the center, even in this retro look, if you like, which is what I really do. And yes, there are a lot more creature comforts, but Porsche has kept some buttons here which are great, especially this nose lift button and the one here for dampers, to adjust the dampers. The shape of the seat with the headrest incorporated, well, I think that still remains. But enough geeking out, let's get behind the wheel of the SC and see what 911 DNA is all about. First up, the flat six air-cooled 3.0 Mesger engine. Now the air-cooled flat six has just so much character. It's always chatting away. You can feel what it's doing, its pulses. You can feel that air-cooled fan blowing away in the back. You can hear the tick, 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 just like you can in a Beetle. And when you downshift, you feel the engine. And is there anything better than having that tachometer right in the center, telling you exactly what RPM you're doing? There's a bit of flutter around 1500 RPM and some hesitation, but once you're past 2000, it really smoothens up. With over 200 horsepower and an 1100 kilo curb weight, it's quick too. While 0 to 100 comes up in around 6 seconds, you feel and experience so much of it, it feels quicker. Now for a car this old, it really does have some zip. Downshift in a second, 4,500 RPM, that's 6, and wow. Of course, you never tire of the sound of that engine. There isn't too much feel in the straight ahead. and there's a bit of play. But once you load it up in a corner, it just is full of feel and real feedback. And it does that so naturally with the weight going around, especially on a U-turn like that. It's the way it rocks back, transfers weight on the back wheels, puts down the power, uses that weight to add to traction. There's something really special about cars of this age. Of course, it's the analog feel, it's the involvement, it's that you can feel every small movement of the car, and that what you do affects the way the car moves as well. Now let's swap to the Targa. Now both these cars are SCs and the specs are very similar, but this one, the experience is quite different. It's a Targa, you get an open top. This particular car, however, has a notoriously difficult gearbox. Now the big difference here is the gearbox, and this one's the older spec, and you need to be a bit more positive with it. The G15 gearbox sure is hard work and a learning experience. Now on corners it clearly doesn't feel as tight and as put together as the earlier car, and it's more of a relaxing cruiser rather than something you want to hurl at every corner, which you actually do in that one. But should the need arise, this car has the same sort of balance and has the potential to be enjoyable too. Now for the real test. Does the new 911 GTS still drive like these 911s of old? Does it still have that 911 character? Very first impressions are of a different kind of car. And the hybrid system is also why this car starts up almost instantly. It just explodes into life. Boom! And that's because it's the hybrid motor that's pushing the engine to start it. There's no starter going kak kak kak. Listen. Oh, just starts up. So this is the 911 Carrera for GTS, and so that means it's a GTS with a hybrid assist system, and that's what gives it this kind of instant torque. Although this engine is turbocharged, there's no lag, there's no delay, it's just crack on as soon as you put your foot down. Engine is around 2500 RPM. I put my foot down and it just takes off, no lag, nothing. And that's the great part about this hybrid drive system. Performance is a scintillating 0 to 100 in 3 seconds dead. And then when it comes to performance, you also have this boost mode. And that's 20 seconds of extra boost. Oh man, this is slightly unhinged and crazy. Let's see how quick this 541 horsepower car is off the line. So 0 to 100 normally takes 3 seconds. And let's see with the launch control. Whoa! Now of course it has that rear engine balance, but unlike the earlier cars, you can't feel it as much. But yes, when you're on a switchback like this and you're dancing on the edge of traction, you certainly can feel the weight in the back. You certainly can feel that balance, that heavy rear. Of course, this car really comes alive on twisty roads like this, and then you can feel that weight in the back. You can feel the balance of the car tilting towards the rear. So you have to wait, be patient, settle the weight on the rear, and then accelerate out of the corner. It's still loads and loads of fun. You have to be patient, you have to be careful, but when you get it right, nothing quite puts a smile on your face like this. And a lot of that is due to the rear wheel steering. But the good thing is that Porsche is the master of weight management. They of course learned early with the 911s with all that weight slung out at the back. Then they went to the Cayenne, the SUV. They did it superbly there as well. The Panamera, the electric cars. And now with this heavier 911, while you feel the weight, there is the extra momentum. The steering isn't as pure. You don't really feel the car moving around unless you're really on it. this still feels like a proper 911.
It may not have the raw mechanical charm of the G-Body SC, and accessing the best bits may need some work, but you can still hook it up and put a big smile on your face on the right roads and in the right circumstances.